Will debate the unemployment crisis on Thursday. DA leader Mmusi Maimane asked the Speaker for an urgent debate on joblessness. Now, the country's unemployment climbed to 29% in the second quarter of the year. Well, Maimane joins me now from our Cape Town studios. Mr. Maimane, thank you very much for your time. Firstly, your reaction to the country dodging a technical recession, GDP growing by 3.1%.
Xoli, and I appreciate the question. Good morning to all South Africans. And I think it would be amiss of me to not take this moment to reflect on truly even what the story you've just been covering about Uyinene and just the tragedy of our nation. I think our country is in crisis. I think that as the number of citizens who are dying, I want to send my deep condolences, and I continue the call. It's about time now that we prioritize citizens, and I make the urgent call to say, let's cut VIP protection. It's costing us a fortune. Why are we protecting politicians when young women like Uyinene simply cannot walk freely in our country? It's an injustice, and I think about all the women in our nation. I want to honor them, and I want to say we failed them, and we didn't give dignity when dignity was needed. We need to now, as men, as leaders in society, give dignity to all South African women. And I think, coming back to your question, I want to urge quite seriously, this is also our economy. Many citizens are staying at home, they are hungry, they are unemployed. And therefore this debate says to Parliament we need to urgently find interventions that can curb and address our economic challenges. And therefore I'll be making the debate tomorrow to say, how do we reform our economy? What structural issues do we need to put on the table so that we can begin to aggressively ensure that citizens know that they have a government that will work for them to ensure that we can create the requisite work.
Well, Mr. Maimane, the question that always comes up when this kind of debate takes place is, what are the alternatives being offered by the opposition?
Well, it's vital to acknowledge the fact that, at the core, we believe that our economy needs some fundamental reform. So the first is the reform on the energy sector. We need to be far more interactive at ensuring that we break Eskom into two entities so that we can allow for independent power producers to come on board, allow municipalities at core to be able to purchase energy directly so that they can be able to in fact make sure we have a stabilized grid and economic prosperity coming from there. Furthermore, we will be tabling on the table just the idea as to how to set up a jobs and justice fund that will ensure that in fact micro enterprise is in fact stimulated, because the future of this country is around small businesses. If we don't help them with venture capital, if we don't pay them on time, we lose those efficiencies. Furthermore, we'll be targeting some key sectors. So let's look at tourism, manufacturing and agriculture and ask ourselves the question, what policy certainty do we need to put there? Why can't somebody arrive in South Africa, be able to get an electronic visa and be able to come and tour our beautiful country? Why is it that in the manufacturing sector we're not reducing tax, corporate tax to 15% so that we can stimulate manufacturing? Furthermore, why is it that we're not further actually, when we look at the other SOE reforms, ensuring that we actually bring in equity partners for SAA so that we can take that money and bolster the manufacturing sector, or be able to give a sense even in the agricultural sector where we say, what policy certainty can we give there? It's no use us debating EWC or in a world where in fact our farmers are uncertain about their future. It's a sector we could be creating work. So for us, there's a broad basket of things that we need to do. And then lastly, how do we address the question of justice, which is about saying, how do South Africans who are left out of the economy participate in the economy? And that's about making sure that we adjudicate on title, we ensure that we create legislation that makes it easier for people to come into the workspace, that we scrap cumbersome labor legislation that makes it difficult for people to be able to employ citizens and make sure citizens can work.
Mr. Maimane, just very briefly before I let you go, let me ask you to react to the xenophobic attacks that are gripping Gauteng at the moment. And specifically also, what is it that you, the Democratic Alliance, can offer in as far as the crisis of femicide in our country?
I've been already in contact with many of the leaders in the SADC region to say that we need to all come out collectively and condemn acts of violence. It is not in the nature and the character of the people of South Africa to be xenophobic. It's not who we are, and therefore all the elements that are purporting this should be arrested. We should make sure that we eliminate acts of criminality. But that's why I called for VIP cuts in terms of security so that we can deploy more policing. But furthermore, I've always maintained that I met yesterday with the mayor of Johannesburg and Tshwane and insisted that they need to deploy the metro police into areas. Already 800 policemen have been sent into the city so that we can ensure that ultimately those who are committing crimes are in fact arrested. But furthermore, we need to have a multifactorial strategy. So that's about making sure that where citizens and non-citizens are not registered, they are registered properly so that we can give rights to all people regardless of where they come from, and we can protect them. And equally so, what we do at our border is about strengthening home affairs so that we can make sure that anyone who comes into South Africa has got the legal certainty and the documentation required. And that furthermore, as the region and as Africa, we must stand united at this time and condemn any acts of violence and criminality and begin to arrest people who are perpetuating those.
Mr. Maimane, thank you very much for your time. He's the leader of the main opposition Democratic Alliance. Let's